Hey everybody, nice to see you again. You know what, today on the vlog I have got a confession to make. I hate tripods. So I'm going to tell you why and what I did about it. So I thought I'd bring the vlog outside today and introduce you to the bottom of my garden. I hadn't done a vlog out here before, but it's a lovely day. It's only mid-February, but it's a warm day and it just feels like spring is just around the corner. Birds are singing and it's just a beautiful day to be outside. So I thought I'd come out here to explain my hatred of tripods. There's three reasons why I hate tripods. The first is I hate carrying them around. They're just not the most portable beasts in the world, especially when you use big cameras and big lenses, and therefore you need pretty heavyweight, sturdy tripods. They're just a pain to carry around, and I resent it a lot of the time. My own laziness, sure, but I resent it. The second thing is I do a lot of my photography in photo hides, and normally those sorts of hides are a bench with a kind of shelf in front of the window, and a tripod is a pain in the butt to use. In those circumstances, you just don't have enough room. It gets the shelf gets in the way, so I hate using tripods in a hide location. The third reason is just that sometimes tripods, I find, don't let you or don't encourage you to get low enough. You know, they're a pain to get the legs right down and the center column out, so that you can get a really, really low angle. And I love low angle wildlife photography. I'm going to do another video dedicated out in the field while I'm shooting to that. But yeah, tripods sometimes, they just encourage you to shoot from a slightly higher elevation, which isn't always ideal for wildlife photography. So I really wanted to come up with a solution, something else that I could use to get around my hatred of the standard tripod. And I found a solution, and I haven't seen anybody else using it, so I'm going to share it with you today. See what you think, let me know in the comments below. So let me introduce you to the first two out of the three elements that I use for my little low angle rig. The first one is this, a Platypod. It's a piece of metal with spiked feet, and I paid £100 for this piece of metal. You're probably thinking, God, that's a lot of money to pay for a little bit of metal. Well, it is, but this thing actually is beautifully designed and beautifully engineered, and it does what I need it to do. So it's essentially a very low angle tripod. A lot of people use them for product photography and just places where you can't get a tripod, but I want it for a slightly different reason. Now, this is not a Platypod review, by the way. There's loads of other videos. I'll link to one up there so you can have a look at a proper review of this particular piece of kit. But the thing that, if you look at the reviews, most people say about the Platypod is that they then say, and what you do with the Platypod is you attach your ball head to it. Now, I'm a wildlife photographer. I don't especially like ball heads. They don't do what I need them to do. You know, ball heads are great for precise, accurate positioning, you know, being able to tilt any which way, lock them off and hold that composition. But for a wildlife photographer, I need to move. Animals move around in the frame. You know, I need to be able to follow them. I need to be able to track and pan with them. And a ball head isn't much good for that, because the minute I let the camera go with a big heavy lens on it, over goes the lens and smacks itself. So personally, I've never gone on with using ball heads for wildlife photography. That's just me. What I do love to use are gimbal heads, because gimbal heads, although they can't tilt and you're fixed on that axis, what they do is they give you the ability to swivel left and right or up and down in a very fluid motion, and be able to track moving subjects. So moving animals, birds in flight, anything like that. This is great. So this is an old gimbal head of mine. This is a Manfrotto 393, and it's a fairly sturdy, weighty bit of kit in its own right. So you can imagine, with a big heavy tripod and trying to lug this around as well, it's just not good. So the fact that my tripod is now reduced to something tiny like the size of a Platypod That's a big win for me because the combined weight of these two I can live with. So what I thought to myself was, I wonder if the Platypod will work with a gimbal head. Turns out it does. So I'm just going to put these together and then I'm going to show you these assembled with the camera. Okay, so here's the little rig set up. Platypod on the bottom, gimbal head on top of that, and then with a quick release plate and my Nikon D800 and the 200 to 500 f5.6 set up on top of that. And I'm kind of using this log bench at the bottom of my garden as the sort of feature of the landscape that I might use. I always want to break up my own profile when I'm photographing wildlife. I want to get low and I want to use whatever cover there is in the landscape to conceal myself. So quite often I'll sit like this behind a log or a boulder or whatever else, and those are things that again, tripods just aren't very flexible to get in tight to something like that and be able to use that cover to my advantage, whereas this little thing can just sit on top. It's got its adjustable feet, it's quite happy, and I've got a complete range of motion left to right, up and down. I can track a moving subject, and I've got total flexibility to shoot that however I want. So this little rig, and similarly in a hide situation, this can sit up in front of me, and again, it's just so, the form of it is so much smaller, and yet I've still got the flexibility to move the camera around however I want, but also just let it go and know that it's perfectly stable, it's not going to fall over or anything like that. The third and final element of this particular bit of kit is my right angle viewfinder, because I use the D800 and it doesn't have a flippy LCD screen, and to be quite honest with you, I don't like flippy LCD screens anyway. I don't particularly like composing with them. I like using a proper viewfinder. So in a scenario like this where the camera is lower than I am, I don't want to get into some awkward stress position in order to see through the viewfinder. So a right angle viewfinder that lets me just look down from above and keep a comfortable position is the last element to make this a really, really good little rig. So I hope that was an interesting little demo of my unusual little rig. It's so common for photographers to end up with their own unique little solutions that they've bolted together out of all sorts of bits and bobs, so that's just mine, and the next time I see you I'm going to be taking that rig out and about doing some proper low angle wildlife photography on location. So I'll see you then, and until then, take care, go safe.